Around 2,500 years ago, what truth did the Buddha awaken to that earned him the respect and reverence of all humanity, even from modern scientists like Einstein? What truly defines a Buddhist? Is it someone who holds prayer beads, chants sutras, practices vegetarianism, meditates, and recites Namo Amitabha Buddha when troubled? Or must one officially take refuge in a temple, wear robes to be considered a true Buddhist? There's a truth in this world. Many don robes of saffron, yet their actions fall short of what defines a Buddhist. Conversely, there are those who have never encountered Buddhism, yet live lives that embody true Buddhist principles. In the material world, humanity is drowning in anxiety. We cannot compete with technology, nor can we surpass those with exceptional intellect and talent. What we earn often isn't enough to satisfy our desires. Climate change, pandemics, chemical waste pollution, wars, economic crises, and countless other issues leave us pessimistic about life. Spiritually, we lack the wisdom to choose a suitable belief system as our foundation. We struggle to distinguish between right and wrong, between genuine practice and superstition. As a result, many either shy away from spiritual growth entirely or mistake adherence to Buddhism for mere rituals, burning incense, making offerings, attending ceremonies, donating to charity, believing themselves to be diligently practicing generosity. Yet ultimately, they still live in daily suffering and anxiety. Are such people truly Buddhists? Why do we remain trapped in life's troubles? Why can't our hearts find true peace, serenity, and freedom? If these confusions still linger, this book will help you find the answers and show you how to truly become a Buddhist. However, the author's purpose in writing this book is not to persuade you to follow Gautama Buddha and become a Buddhist, but to illuminate the most unique and profound philosophies of Buddhism. This is also the intention of this discussion. Whether you are interested in achieving enlightenment or not, as long as you are willing to read, listen, and reflect, you will undoubtedly benefit. And if you wish, you can use the wisdom of Buddhism to transform your mindset, open new doors of opportunity, elevate yourself, and change your destiny. In the book, the author dismantles common misunderstandings about Buddhism with gentle, simple, and humorous language, yet full of wisdom and compassion, guiding you to a deeper understanding of Buddhism's true essence. Those fortunate enough to read this book will grasp the profound meaning of impermanence, a concept we often hear, and thereby free themselves from countless afflictions, release their ego, and step onto the path of awakening. Dzongsar Khyentse Rinpoche, the author of this book, was born in 1961. This respected Tibetan Lama from Bhutan is the principal lineage holder of the Sakya and Nyingma schools of Vajrayana Buddhism. He is recognized as the second incarnation of Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo, an emanation of Manjushri Bodhisattva. He studied under and received empowerments from some of the greatest Tibetan masters. He is one of the most widely recognized young teachers of Tibetan Buddhism, known for his maximum creativity and innovation. He is also a film director, having served as a consultant for the film Little Buddha, and has written and directed numerous films on Buddhist themes. Through his lens, he conveys the Buddhist philosophy of samsara, nirvana, and life itself. His films, like a clear river, carry incredible energy and rich humanistic spirit, earning high praise and awards at major international film festivals. This book is no different. It is a work that has profoundly influenced tens of millions of Buddhists worldwide and is sincerely recommended by international stars and renowned writers alike. I sought it out after hearing Jet Li and Chen Kun speak about it. After reading it, I felt compelled to share its essence with you, along with the message. As long as unease resides within you, there will always be a faith or belief to guide your way. What truly makes a Buddhist? How can one live a good life? Buddhism is not synonymous with renouncing the world, being vegetarian, chanting sutras, or repenting before the Buddha. Although Buddhism is disseminated through religious forms, it is not a superstitious belief system. The essence of Buddhism lies in the Buddha's perspective. From the outset, the Buddha imparted to all of us four truths. First, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Second, all emotions are suffering. Third, all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. Fourth, nirvana is true peace. These four truths are the Four Seals of Dharma, fundamental concepts in Buddhism. Seal here means a mark that verifies authenticity, They contain no moral doctrines or religious rituals, nor do they refer to good or evil actions. Instead, the Four Seals are practical truths discovered through wisdom. If a person accepts and believes in these four truths, that person is a Buddhist. Conversely, no matter what external forms you adopt, if internally you do not comprehend the truth of the Four Seals, you can never truly be a Buddhist. The most profound value you will find in reading this book is the awakening of wisdom. The author states that right view is the heart of wisdom. Possessing right view can unlock one's innate wisdom. Right view is simply understood as seeing the world accurately and logically. What is your view of the world? Right view belongs to the Eightfold Path, which includes right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, 8 paths or methods of practice to attain Nirvana and Buddhahood. Upon finishing this book, you will realize that the four truths of the Four Seals form a complete, super logic that cannot be separated. When you truly grasp it, your destiny will undoubtedly undergo a profound transformation. First, let's begin with the first truth of the Four Seals. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. To deeply understand the concept of impermanence, we must return to the source of the story of the Buddha. The Buddha was not a divine being. He was an ordinary man named Gautama Siddhartha, a prince in the kingdom of Kapilavastu. This prince possessed all the qualities birth, appearance, character, strength to inherit the throne. Yet, immediately after his birth, a fortune teller predicted that the prince would achieve great things but would renounce the world and not remain in his homeland. Fearing the prince's renunciation, the king ordered everyone to treat Siddhartha kindly from childhood, ensuring he never witnessed the world's harsh realities, making him believe life was beautiful. In such an environment, enjoying the best of everything, the prince married and had a child. You might think a person's heart softens with a warm family and children, but one day, desiring to leave the palace, the prince ventured out and saw an old beggar, bent and trembling. The prince asked his attendants, "Who is this person and why are they like this?" The attendant replied, "This is an old man." "Why is an old man so pitiful, so ugly, so in pain?" The prince inquired further. "Will I grow old in the future?" The servant said, "Your Highness will also grow old." "And my father?" "My son, they will also grow old." The prince said, "Enough, let's go home." The next day the prince ventured out again, this time in a different direction, and encountered a sick person, groaning and vomiting. Having never seen such a sight, he asked, "What is wrong with this person? They are not old, but what afflicts them?" The attendant replied, "This person is sick." "What does sick mean?" "It means their body is afflicted." "Will I also fall ill?" "Forgive me, your Highness, but you will also fall ill." Hearing this, the prince's heart felt shattered. This time he returned home and didn't leave for 2 days. When he next left the palace, he saw people weeping as a dead person was carried down to the river. The prince asked, "Why isn't that person moving, and why does their face look so terrifying? Who is this?" The attendant beside him said, "That is a dead person." This filled the prince with fear. The prince asked, "Will I die someday?" "Your Highness will die. Everyone will die. Will my son also die?" "Yes, your son will also die." The prince fell into deep contemplation. After returning home, he constantly pondered how to prevent loved ones from dying, how to escape the suffering of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Many modern people might find it amusing that the prince asked such questions, but let us reflect. What are our daily questions? Will I get promoted this time? Will this business deal bring a large profit? When will I win the lottery? Where will I go after I die? Ponder these questions. In reality, the questions we fret over daily are far more naive than the prince's. Conversely, the issues the prince raised are what we should truly and continuously reflect upon. But how do people in modern society cope with the pressure of birth, old age, sickness, and death? Our method is no different from using a rattle to temporarily stop a child from crying, shaking the rattle to distract the child from what they truly need to pay attention to. We are no different from children being deceived by rattles, always avoiding the issue. We never seriously contemplate birth, old age, sickness, and death, thinking death is far away, so we relentlessly pursue wealth and glory, hoping this will allow us to escape the suffering brought by birth, old age, sickness, and death. Yet, ultimately, we live increasingly in misery and delusion. The prince did not do this. After Gautama Siddhartha returned to the palace, he thought about these issues every day, asking himself how to resolve them. And then, the prince decided to renounce the world. One night, while everyone in the palace was fast asleep, perhaps intoxicated from a banquet, he left, abandoning his life of luxury to seek enlightenment. He found a place, spread Kusa grass as a straw mat, and sat there without any external aid, hoping to awaken and be freed from the cycle of birth and death. This is the entire story of the Buddha's renunciation. Many of us may have heard this story numerous times, but the crucial point we need to understand is that the Buddha's motivation for renouncing the world was to help humanity escape the pressures of birth, old age, sickness, and death. On his spiritual journey, the Buddha tried many methods. Initially, ascetic practices did not lead him to enlightenment. Afterwards, he began to accept food from others, drank goat's milk, bathed himself clean, meditated under the Bodhi tree, and finally attained enlightenment. So, what exactly did the Buddha discover in that moment of awakening? That night, he realized this was not just a human experience, but a universal one, encompassing the entire world and cosmos. All things are interdependent. Nothing in this world can exist independently. They are formed by causes and conditions. If any element within them is removed, it cannot be permanent. Therefore, everything will change. The Buddha named this discovery impermanence. Impermanence is not, as many believe, merely that everyone will eventually die. Rather, it precisely means transformation. Everything in this world is in a constant state of flux. However, many of us constantly resist this transformation. Most people only accept the pleasant aspects of impermanence and dislike its unpleasant side. For example, if you currently have a stomach ache, you hope one day you won't. If there were no impermanence, no change, your aching stomach would never be able to heal. It is dispersion. When something comes together, that is the process of arising. When these things dissolve, that is the process of ceasing. A philosopher, a contemporary of the Buddha, also said, "Arising is ceasing, ceasing is arising," meaning birth is death and death is birth. Everything in the world is in a constant cycle of coming together and dissolving, dissolving and coming together. However, in human life, because our lifespan can be a bit longer than other creatures, a person's life can last for decades, we feel that life must always be maintained in a state of living long, living well, living healthier. It is this expectation that makes us resist change. But the more we resist impermanence, the more anxiety and suffering we feel in our hearts. At this point, some might ask, how can I live without hoping for a better life? Who wants to die early? Isn't hope a good thing? It brings belief towards positive things. Do you know the story of Pandora's box from Greek mythology? When Pandora opened the magical box, all kinds of monsters and plagues escaped. After everything had fled, she slammed the box shut. So, what was left inside the box? It is said that what remained was hope. Many people traditionally understood this as, terrible things escaped, and humans need hope to face life's calamities. But in truth, let's use the perspective of impermanence to reflect on this. In essence, this box was originally a box full of harm to humans. Therefore, the very last thing that could remain in this box must be the greatest potential harm to humans, and that is hope. As long as there is hope in the heart, as long as there is any desire, behind that expectation will always lurk a certain fear. The most fundamental fear is the fear of death, followed by fears of loss, scarcity, failure, and so on. But Buddhism does not advise you to stop striving. Rather, it encourages you to diligently do what is within your reach, to pursue what you love out of genuine affection, and thereby create value. The important thing is, in this process, to accept impermanence, that everything will change, that impermanence brings instability to this world, and even to your own life. Only then can you live peacefully and serenely. Here, the author says that impermanence is good news. We can embrace impermanence, for only with impermanence can change occur, and suffering can gradually be transformed. When you realize that you don't need excessive expectations, you can live in harmony with each moment. This must be combined with the concept of mindfulness, which we have mentioned in many previous discussions, focusing on every moment in the present to avoid being obsessed with controlling one's future and past. So that concludes the first truth of the Four Seals. All conditioned phenomena are impermanence. All emotions are suffering. The second truth of the Four Seals addresses the issue of emotions and suffering. Why did the Buddha state that emotions are suffering? The root cause lies in the non-existence of a permanent, independent self. What is this self? It's a Sino-Vietnamese term, commonly meaning I or myself. We see our bodies, understand our thoughts, perform our actions, and thus create the concept of I. When we perceive our form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, we believe ourselves to be a distinct, separate entity, and clearly, I truly exist. Yet, Siddhartha discovered that no independently existing entity, within or outside the body, can be identified as a self. It is all our illusion. We then become overly attached to this self, clinging to it, deeming it paramount, and striving to protect it. But this is precisely the source of ignorance. The Buddha realized that there is no self, no evil, only ignorance. Ignorance is not stupidity, nor is it sin. Ignorance is simply not knowing the truth, misunderstanding the truth, or having an incomplete understanding. All these forms of lack of knowledge lead to misconceptions and misjudgments, overestimating or underestimating. These very misperceptions give rise to different emotions, thereby plunging humanity into an ocean of suffering. However, some might argue that not all emotions are suffering, citing love, joy, creativity, devotion, contentment, comfort. Yet for Siddhartha, anything uncertain and unpredictable is suffering. For example, love can bring you joy and satisfaction, but it doesn't arise on its own. It requires at least an external object. Therefore, you cannot fully control it. To not be loved is pain. Witnessing love depart is pain. Anxiety over losing love is also suffering. If you love someone too intensely, that person also has the potential to hurt you. It's crucial to note that the more self-aware a person is, the more they exaggerate their own emotions. For instance, when you see someone else suffering from a breakup, you might feel indifferent, but if it happens to you, it feels like an unbearable, extreme pain. After this painful emotion, you will always have questions. Why did this happen to me? Why did that person deceive me? Why did they leave me when I loved them so much? This is because you always consider yourself to be immense, paramount. But the self does not exist. It is all your illusion. Secondly, to protect and cling to the self, all human actions in life revolve around seeking the emotion of joy. But joy is a relative concept and can change due to external factors. Each of us has a different definition of joy and suffering. People try many ways to seek happiness and resolve suffering, but each pursuit also means a corresponding suffering will arise. All our actions to seek joy inherently carry the nature of suffering. The more you try to fill yourself, the less you can truly accumulate, like trying to scoop water with a broken sieve will only come away empty-handed. Wealth, fame, status, achievements, loved ones, even beauty, wisdom, and all things, all results derived from actions, even good ones, cannot be lasting. Because all these things are temporary, the very act of possessing them is suffering. That is why the Buddha said that the source of suffering is emotions, or in other words, all emotions are suffering. So what should we do? The Buddha pointed out the only way: to be awakened, to be mindful, to be aware. To be awakened so you can deeply understand the nature of things. When you realize that the self you constantly cling to and obsess over does not exist, your ignorance will diminish, and consequently, suffering will decrease. Be awakened to learn to recognize, pay attention to, and examine your emotions and try to find their source. You will see they originate from the misunderstanding of ignorance. Be awakened so you do not immerse yourself in the joy of ignorance. What is the joy of ignorance? For example, someone after hearing these philosophies might say, "These philosophies sound profound, but I don't care much. I'm happy as long as I feel joyful. Earning a lot of money is great. Eating delicacies and wearing luxurious fashion, isn't that good?" This is the joy of ignorance. There's a quote by the author in this book that I find profoundly true. The joy of ignorance is nothing other than constantly overestimating one's ability to benefit oneself and underestimating the obstacles. As long as you think, "I am in a good state, I am very happy about that," you will never know true hardship. We always selectively embrace joy in our lives. This is precisely what makes us avoid the trials of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and resist impermanence. Many might then say, if you follow these philosophies, won't your life be very boring? The Buddha, after realizing these truths, was not bored but became even happier. The happiness he attained was not merely overcoming pain or experiencing joy as we simply perceive it, but a profound form of happiness. To describe this joy, there is a Buddhist term called mahasukha, or great bliss. It is the joy of awakened awareness, not temporary pleasures derived from external sources. What is the joy of awakened awareness? It is when you recognize the nature and principles of these things. It does not prevent you from enjoying life. On the contrary, when you can understand the temporary ups and downs, the sweet, sour, bitter, and spicy, and impermanence, you will more easily make your life more fulfilling. Have you noticed why those who achieve enlightenment or have a relatively high level of spiritual practice always look at the world with a touch of humor, a smile always on their lips? It is because they dwell in the happiness of awakened awareness. Next, the third truth in the Four Seals: all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. Siddhartha fully comprehended the emptiness of existence, realizing that everything we see, hear, feel, think, and know is entirely empty of inherent nature. So, what is emptiness? All phenomena arise from causes and conditions, and when these causes and conditions dissolve, they cease. Emptiness means that phenomena lack inherent existence, not that they do not exist at all. For example, the chair you are sitting on has emptiness. It's not that it doesn't exist, but its presence is due to the combination of many factors, including our need, the materials iron, nails, wood, and the person who made it, and so on. This is the result of the combination of causes and conditions. If there's an issue with any of these causes or conditions, for instance, we no longer need it, or a nail or piece of wood is damaged, or a leg breaks, then it will no longer exist. Everything has emptiness. But why do we humans believe that all phenomena have true existence? Because we always understand the world through personal and collective habits, attaching labels of true existence to everything. How powerful is this habit? So powerful that it makes us completely disregard emptiness. Therefore, most people are not interested in pursuing enlightenment like Siddhartha. So if all phenomena are empty, what is life? Siddhartha viewed our experiences in this world as a dream. It is precisely because our habits have become so entwined with this illusory world, believing it to truly exist, that we fall into an endless cycle of suffering and anxiety. It's like being trapped in a cocoon, unable to escape. However, simply by understanding that everything is an illusion, we can liberate ourselves. So, how can we free ourselves from illusion? Reflect for a moment. Have you ever talked to elderly people? Many older individuals often say life is like a dream. In their lives, they experienced immense pain, stubborn attachments they couldn't let go of people, things. But looking back now, everything feels as light as a dream. The moment you realize life is a dream is when you perceive the emptiness that exists. Therefore, do not wait until the final years of your life to contemplate emptiness. From now on, if you can be awakened, you can gradually withdraw from this ephemeral world without clinging to relationships, and you can live in greater harmony with those around you. You will no longer be obsessed with things like achieving a high income at work, your lover cherishing you forever, friends treating you sincerely, or your children growing up to be a certain way. As you gradually understand emptiness and escape the cycle of illusion, you will clearly see the myriad anxieties and fears of people in this society. At that point, you will no longer be indifferent. Instead, you will become more compassionate and readily help others with wisdom. Here, there's a concept of karma. We often understand karma as retribution within a moral system, distinguishing between bad karma and good karma. However, karma is simply a principle of cause and effect. It should not be confused with morality or ethics. Karma has no inherent good or evil. The Buddha also did not set a fundamental standard for what is negative and what is positive in karma. Any motive or action that distances us from the understanding that everything is impermanent, that is, resisting impermanence, can lead to negative consequences, known as negative karma. Conversely, any action that brings us closer to the understanding that all emotions are suffering, that is, accepting things as they are, observing emotions mindfully, and not letting the ego control us, thereby diminishing ignorance, can generate positive results, known as positive karma. Siddhartha attained enlightenment without distinguishing between good and bad, evil and wholesome, for any phenomenon. He did not differentiate the value of a simple grass mat under the bodhi tree from the value of a silk mattress in the palace. The value of a silk mattress is merely created by human greed and desire. So, after understanding emptiness, another important point is not to let ourselves become dependent on things that make us comfortable or familiar. If we have the courage to transcend the mundane, not being limited by logic or habit, we will understand that emptiness in life is a simple and rather humorous thing. At that point, you will truly feel lighthearted about everything in life. The final truth is the most challenging to grasp, known as Nirvana is true peace. You need to be awakened to the first three truths to comprehend this one. Most people believe that the ultimate achievement on the spiritual path occurs at the end of life, that a state of complete enlightenment can only be experienced after death. Many mistakenly think they will then attain a state called Nirvana, and this is when one can reach the Pure Land, meaning complete happiness. But for Siddhartha, it was not so. His goal was not happiness. His ultimate path did not lead to happiness. More accurately, it was a direct path to liberation from suffering, from delusions and illusions. Therefore, Nirvana is neither happiness nor unhappiness. It transcends all dualistic concepts. Nirvana is true peace, a state of complete purity, complete ease. Many Buddhists also use the analogy that Nirvana is the opposite of samsara. Awakening from a dream is Nirvana, while remaining in the dream is still in the cycle of samsara. Siddhartha emphasized to his followers that if one truly wishes to escape samsara, yet in this life or the next only seeks peace and happiness, it is utterly futile. This means he was emphasizing that one's path of practice should be about how to truly awaken from illusion. For Siddhartha, the ultimate resting place, whether heaven or nirvana, is not a physical escape, but liberation from the delusion of ignorance. If you insist on finding a physical location to attain nirvana, it could be where you are sitting right now. For Siddhartha, that place was under the Bodhi tree in India. The freedom Siddhartha spoke of, the transcendental nirvana, is a concept beyond time and space. It can be achieved in this very life through one's courage, wisdom, and diligence, and no one is without this potential, including all sentient beings. So, these are the philosophies of the Four Seals as taught by the Buddha. We often assume that the wisdom and compassion of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are boundless and unattainable, leading us to simply emulate their good deeds, while overlooking what Buddhas and Bodhisattvas truly want to teach us: awakening. Awakening to understand the true nature of reality. No matter how many incense sticks you burn, how many flowers you offer, how many lamps you light for Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, none of it compares to practicing the Four Seals. A person who can truly be awakened in their perception will not be selfish, greedy, or calculating. They will not be like two children fighting over a toy, not like a baby distracted by a rattle, not like a greedy person trying to scoop water with a bamboo basket, constantly hoping to fill it. Instead of sinking deeper into thought patterns that lead to ignorance, greed, anger, and delusion, which result in suffering, delve deeper into the Buddhist perspective and apply it to your life. One day, when you self-awaken to the truths the Buddha taught, your compassion and wisdom will naturally shine forth. This book opens a door to a new world for ordinary people, guiding us to look at our lives from a different angle. For those practicing the Dharma, it also serves as a means for self-reflection and a benchmark to examine one's practice. Naturally, this discussion has no inclination to recruit anyone to any religion. I am merely introducing the Buddha's philosophy to everyone to broaden understanding. Whether to accept, believe, experience, and practice, to embark on the path of awakening, that all depends on you. Finally, I want to share one more thing with you. In life, we must face ourselves. Even if you hide in deep mountains, even if your body is destroyed, you cannot escape facing yourself. Yet, we spend our entire lives trying to become someone else, learning to please others, but never learning to communicate with our own hearts. Only those truly willing to understand themselves, face themselves with the utmost honesty, and use the power of awakened awareness to grow, can find the path of spiritual growth through Buddhist perspectives. After all, there's a quote in the book: "Ultimately, we must even abandon the path of enlightenment itself. If you still define yourself as a Buddhist, you have not yet become a Buddha." Do not try to use any external form to mask an expectation stemming from fear within you. Begin from within, open your right view, your awakened awareness, because inherently we have been Buddhas from the very beginning.